Hello dear students, this is Vishal sir from Ikra High School. Today we are going to conclude chapter 4, part 2. Our today's topic will be Bohr's model of atom. Let's read the lesson first. In order to overcome the objection raised against Rutherford's model of atom, Niels Bohr put forward the following postulate about the model of an atom. Only certain spatial orbit known as discrete orbit of electron are allowed inside the atom. While revolving in the discrete orbit, the electrons do not radiate energy. These orbit or shells are called energy level. Energy level in an atom are shown in figure 4.3. The orbit or shell are represented by letter K, L, M, N or the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So dear students, the Bohr model of atom came into existence with the modification of Rutherford's model of an atom. Rutherford's model introduced the nuclear model of an atom, in which he explained the nucleus is surrounded by negatively charged electrons. Bohr modified this atomic structure model by explaining that electrons moved in fixed orbit and not anywhere in between, and he also explained that each orbit has a fixed energy level. Bohr found that an electron located away from the nucleus has more energy and electron close to the nucleus have less energy. Now, he also postulated the model. He said that in an atom, electrons, that is negatively charged, revolve around the positively charged nucleus in a definite circular path called orbits or shells. Each orbit or shell has a fixed energy and these circular orbits are known as electron shell. Here in the diagram you can see how the Bohr's atomic model was. Nucleus was in the center and the different orbits contained the number of electrons revolving around it. He said that orbit at the farthest had the highest energy level, while the orbit or the electron nearest to the nucleus has a low energy level. Neutrons. In 1932, J. Chadwick discovered another subatomic particle which had no charge and a mass nearly equal to that of a proton. It was eventually named as neutron. Neutrons are present in the nucleus of all atoms except hydrogen. In general, a neutron is represented as N. So dear children, here when neutron was discovered in 1932, it was found that it is situated in the nucleus of an atom. The nucleus contains neutron and proton, and the masses of neutron and proton was given as the mass of the atom. The mass of the atom is therefore given by the sum of the masses of proton and neutron present in the nucleus. How are electrons distributed in different orbits? The distribution of electrons into different orbits of an atom was suggested by Bohr and Bury. The following rules are followed for writing the number of electrons in different energy levels or shell. The maximum number of electrons present in a shell is given by the formula 2n square, where n is the orbit number or the energy index 1, 2 or 3. Hence, the maximum number of electrons in different shell are as follows. In the first shell, the first orbit or K shell, there will be maximum 2 electrons. In the second orbit L shell can accommodate maximum 8 electrons. Third orbit can accommodate maximum 18 electrons, while the fourth orbit N shell can accommodate 32 electrons. Thus, the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in the outermost orbit is 8. Electrons are not accommodated in a given shell unless the inner shells are filled. That is, the shells are filled in a stepwise manner. The atomic structure of the first 18 elements is shown schematically in figure 4.4. So here you can see the number of electrons present in the orbit. As hydrogen's atomic number is 1, it contains 1 electron and it has 1 orbit. Helium has atomic number 2, it contains 2 electrons. Maximum 2 electrons can be accommodated in the first orbit. So 2 electrons are there and it makes one orbit. While lithium has 3 electrons, so 2 electrons are accommodated in the first orbit, while the leftover one will accommodate itself in the next orbit. So there will be 2 orbits for lithium. The same will be applied for beryllium and the other elements with the number of electrons that can be accommodated in 2 orbits. While in the third part you can see sodium, which has 11 electrons, they are accommodated in 3 orbits. In the first orbit, 2 electrons, maximum 2 electrons can be accommodated. The others 8 will be accommodated in second orbit. When it is fulfilled, the one leftover electron will accommodate itself in the third orbit. So this way sodium will have 3 orbits. Valency. We have learned how the electron in an orbit are arranged in different shells or orbit. The electron present in the outermost shell of the atom are known as valence electrons. That means, children, the outermost orbit, here hydrogen's outermost orbit is the first orbit. It has 1 electron. That 1 electron present in the outermost shell is known as the valency of hydrogen. In the same manner, lithium has the outermost orbit and it contains only 1 electron. So lithium's valency is, or valence electron is 1. Beryllium has a valence electron as 2. Carbon will have valence electron as 4. Sodium will have valence electron as 1. Magnesium will have valence electron as 2. As you can see, there are only 2 electrons present in the outermost orbit. From the Bohr-Bury scheme, we can also know that the outermost shell of an atom can accommodate a maximum of 8 electrons. It was observed that atoms of element completely filled with 8 electrons in the outermost shell show little chemical activity. In other words, their combining capacity of valency is 0. That means the atom which has 8 electrons in the outermost shell are called complete or stable elements. They do not react or they do not combine with any other element so easily like the other elements. These are also called inert elements. Out of these inert elements, helium atom has 2 electrons in its outermost shell and all other elements have atoms with 8 electrons in the outermost shell. The combining capacity of the atom of element, that is their tendency to react to form molecule with atoms of the same or different element, was thus explained as an attempt to attain a fully filled outermost shell. An outermost shell which has 8 electrons was said to possess an octet, means a complete shell. Atom would thus react so as to achieve an octet in the outermost shell. Thus, if you study this table, you will find the atomic number given over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes on like this. The number of proton is 1, it does not have any neutron, while it has 1 electron. The number of proton and neutron will remain same, and that is what is called atomic number. Atomic number is the number of proton or the number of electron. So 1 electron, it will be in the first orbit, so its valency will remain 1. Now as for helium, its atomic number is 2. That means it has 2 proton and 2 electrons. So it will distribute the electrons in the first shell as 2. It does not have any leftover space, that is the octet element, and that is why its valency is 0. It does not share its electron with any other element so easily. While talking about lithium, lithium's atomic number is 3. That means its electron is 3. In the first orbit, it will accommodate 2 electrons, while in the second orbit, it will accommodate 1 electron. The 1 electron that is in the outermost orbit is called the valency of the given element. So, those which are not an octet element will react to achieve an octet from the outermost shell. This was done by sharing, gaining or losing electron. the number of electron gained, lost or shared so as to make the octet of electron in the outermost shell gives us directing the combining capacity of the element, that is the valency discussed in the previous chapter. The examples given over here are hydrogen, lithium, sodium contain one electron each in their outermost shell. Therefore, each one of them can lose one electron. So, they are said to have valency of 1. In the same manner, we can tell about magnesium and aluminium. Magnesium can lose 2 electrons, so its valency is 2, while aluminium can lose 3 electrons, so its valency is 3. If the number of electrons in the outermost shell of an atom is close to its full capacity, then valency is determined in a different way. Let's take for an example the fluorine has 7 electrons in the outermost shell and valency could be 7. But it is easier for fluorine to gain 1 electron instead of losing 7 electrons. Hence, its valency is determined by subtracting 7 electrons from the octet. This gives you valency of 1 for fluorine. So, the number of electrons present in the outermost shell is not the valency of any element. It is the valence electron of the element. The valency of the element would be the electrons that are lost, shared or gained to complete an octet. So children, now we come across two different terms, atomic number and mass number. The atomic number. We know that protons are present in the nucleus of an atom. It is the number of proton of an atom which determines its atomic number. It is denoted by Z. So, atomic number is none other than the number of proton present in an atom. All atoms of an element have the same atomic number, Z. In fact, elements are defined by number of proton they possess. For hydrogen, Z is equal to 1 because in hydrogen atom, only one proton is present in the nucleus. Similarly, for carbon, Z is equal to 6. Therefore, the atomic number is defined as the total number of proton present in the nucleus of an atom. Mass number. After studying the properties of subatomic particle of an atom, we can conclude that mass of an atom is practically due to proton and neutron alone. These are present in the nucleus of an atom. Hence, proton and neutron are called nucleons. Therefore, the mass of an atom resides in its nucleus. For example, mass of carbon is 12U because it has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. So, 6 protons and 6 neutrons will make it 12 atomic mass. Similarly, mass of aluminium is 27U, 13 protons and 14 neutrons. The mass number is defined as the sum total of number of proton and neutron present in the nucleus of an atom. It is denoted by A. In the notion of an atom, the atomic number, mass number and the symbol of the element are to be written as, for example, here the symbol of the element will be written, let's take for example X, the mass number will be written here and the atomic number will be written here. The nitrogen, you can write something like this, 14 is the mass number and 7 is the atomic number. Let's talk about isotopes. In nature, a number of atoms of some element have been identified which have same atomic number but different mass number. For example, take the case of hydrogen atom. It has 3 atomic species, namely protium, deuterium and tritium. The atomic number of each one is 1, but the mass number is 1, 2 and 3 respectively. Other such examples are carbon, chlorine and so on. On the basis of this example, isotopes are defined as atoms of the same element having same atomic number but different mass number. Their mass number changes, children, because of the presence of neutron. Here for the first example, for protium, for hydrogen, it had 1 atomic mass. That means it only had 1 proton, no neutron, and its atomic number was 1. For deuterium, that is also the hydrogen, but it had 1 proton and 1 neutron in the nucleus. So, it is written 2 over here in atomic mass. For tritium, it has been written 3. That means it had 1 proton and 2 neutrons. So hydrogen has 3 isotopes: protium, deuterium and tritium. Many elements consist of a mixture of isotopes. Each isotope of an element is a pure substance. The chemical properties of isotopes are similar, but their physical properties are different. Chlorine occurs in nature in 2 isotopic form. They are with mass 35U and 37U in the ratio 3:1. Obviously, the question arises, what should we take the mass of chlorine atom? The mass of the chlorine atom thus would be average atomic mass of chlorine atom. So to find the average of the atomic mass of chlorine atom, you have to do the calculation something like this. 35 into 75 upon 100, that is ratio 3, plus 37 into 25 upon 100, that is the ratio 1. So out of 100% of chlorine with 35 atomic mass is obtained in this much proportion, while chlorine with 37 atomic mass is obtained in this much proportion, 25% of 100. So finding the average for that, you will get an answer as 35.5 atomic mass. The mass of atom of any natural element is taken as the average mass of all the naturally occurring atom of the element. If an element has no isotope, then the mass of its atom would be same as the sum of proton and neutron in it. But if an element occurs in the isotopic form, then we have to know the percent of each isotopic form, and then the average mass is calculated. Applications: since the chemical properties of all the isotope of element are the same, normally we are not concerned about taking a mixture. But some isotope have special property which find them useful in various fields. Some of them are: an isotope of uranium is used as a fuel in nuclear reactor. An isotope of cobalt is used in the treatment of cancer, and the isotope of iodine is used in the treatment of goiter. Now, what are isobars? Let us consider 2 elements: calcium, atomic number 20, and argon, atomic number 18. The number of proton in this atom is different, but the mass number of both these elements is 40. That is, the total number of nucleons is same in the atoms of this pair of element. Atoms of different element with different atomic number which have the same mass number are known as isobars. So that brings us to the end of the lesson with the topic isobar. They are just opposite to isotopes. For isobars, they have different atomic number but same mass number. And for isotopes, they have same atomic number but different mass number.